Hey guys, Frontwoods Farmer, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how I tie up woven wire fence. This is Red Brand. Let me shift my UTV. And how I kind of start everything. And this isn't a how-to fencing video, but this should get you guys going if you want to know how to start your woven wire fence and then wrap it around a bend. All right, so if you look behind me, this is woven wire fence. And what it's meant to do, unlike welded wire fence, is it's meant to flex. So whenever it gets pressure, say a steer, anything like that goes on it, instead of breaking, it has give. Where a welded wire will either break the fence or the post and let your animal out. That's the idea behind stretching the woven wire, making it nice and tight, so if the animal lays on it, it comes back off of it and doesn't ruin your product. Just a couple things you need are some leather gloves, something heavy duty, these are mine, a good pair of pliers, staples that I'm going to show you shortly, a good hammer, and a grinder. That's it, nothing else. Now when you get to stretching, that's a different story. You're going to either want to make a jig or buy a fence stretching jig to where you can pull that fence nice and tight. That way, when an animal leans on it, it doesn't get right out. If you look to the left side of the gates, this is the fence that we previously did. And to the right is what I'm going to show you guys that I'm going to do. The first thing with this woven wire fence is you want to make sure when you're all said and done, it's nice and tight. I also try to make sure everything moves. That way if something does lean on it, it doesn't break. You don't want nothing breaking. Maintenance free is what you're looking for. Of course, nothing's maintenance free in the long run, but you get it. This is how we're going to tie our fence. I also put on these, I call them starter poles, but for that lack of a better term, but I still staple them in. Now these are the way I run my bracing so I could save one post. Normally you'll see an H-style brace with winches and everything like that, but this is what I prefer. This is what I'm doing. This is about the size staple I use. Anything smaller, you kind of hit your fingers. Anything bigger, but when you use it around the farm, you have no use for them big 2-inch staples. I think this is about a 3/4 or 1 inch. Here's the hammer that I prefer. It's a leather hammer. It's an S-Wig. It's one of the best hammers you can buy. It's weighted nice, fits me good. So to achieve this, unfortunately, you start out with this. And this piece of fence actually got damaged. So what you'll find is when you stretch this tight enough, this will all come out, or at least most of it. So I'm going to utilize every foot that I have of this fence. And on normal circumstances, you would start with a straight line. And what you do is you cut all these out, okay? And you want a nice straight wire. And you're going to wrap it around your pole. And then you're going to tie it at least 4 to 6 times really around itself. And that's really going to, that's what holds it. So we're going to go do that right now. And that's where I prefer to use the angle grinder. When you try to cut these over and over again with a pair of dikes, it's hard on your hands, it's hard on your pliers, and it's just no fun. We're probably going to end up going back on the vertical strands. We're probably going to cut about 5 to 6 rows out of this fence. So it does take some time. So this is what it should look like when everything's said and done. So you have enough wire to wrap around your pole and come back and tie back onto your fence line. Now I will say this, you got to be very careful when using that grinder versus your snips, because you could cut every single one of those little joints. And if you're going around like a telephone pole, maybe back to here, and then if you cut that bottom wire or one of these wires, you got to start all over again from where you cut it and redo it. This is probably a good time now. Now that you're all still watching, I normally throw in a little disclaimer in the beginning. This isn't, I would say, the most effective way to do this. This is the way that I choose to do it and get it done. So I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there ready to critique me, and we welcome it. So put it down in the comments. Let me know how you do it, because I'm sure someone has a better way, and then we could share it with all of our viewers. Now this right here is why I can't stress enough. Wear safety glasses the whole time doing it. If you have only shaded sunglasses, wear them. Wear something for eye protection. This stuff is not forgiving. It's best to have some help doing this also. Stretch your fence enough. Now you could bring any of these wires you want up first. I always try to get the bottom one down set first so I know I'm flat enough on the bottom and nothing's gonna crawl out from underneath. But what the key to do is see how I have that stretched, okay? Let's see the other fence. It's probably gonna be somewhere up top. You're gonna wanna hook this on when you run the bottom. You can always take that back off, but now your fence ain't gonna flip-flop. So then you go down to the bottom, clean out around your post the best you can so it's sitting flat with the rest of your grade. Then we're gonna show you how to tie this. Basically, I bring it through to about where that fence needs to go, bring it down to the next square, and that's my length. You could cut it a little longer. And the reason why I do that is because when I'm twisting this through in some tight areas, I want to be able to clear these loops without having to U this and bend this around, because that's how you get these weird loop-de-loops type deals here. So again, you don't have to be easy on this fence. You're not going to hurt it. Put that fence where you want it, then start. Now see how it held it there? You're going to push that through and actually make a tool to do this, to go bring these around. Just look up woven fence wire tool and you'll get it. Your first strands you make here, your first loop-de-loops are going to look pretty bad. What you do is I lost some footage here. My camera's a little low. Let me zoom out. What I was trying to tell you guys was when I cut this down here, like you're gonna have all this excess string sticking out, because you always leave it long so you have enough. I cut it down to the next square. That's the length you want. And then don't be easy on the fence. Pull it through, push with the other hand, and just start your loop-de-loops. Actually make a fence tool. Just Google woven wire fence tool, and it's a real cheap, like $3 tool, and it's meant to do the same thing you could do right here with your fingers. Now, once you get to this position and you want to tighten it up, it's hard for me to do with one hand, but you're basically gonna twist it like a dirt bike handle, keep going around. Second option you can do, again, one-handed, but you're gonna use this part of the fence against your pliers and hold this and just pry. And as you're prying, what you're gonna wanna do is just pull it up and push this against the fence, and that'll tighten that up real nice. When I'm done tightening this one, I'm gonna come back and I'll show you. Some people put a hook, some people cut it with a grinder and make it flush from the bottom, and do whatever you want. Think of your animals first when you're doing this, and that right there is how you get this part done. And this is what I guess you would call it your starter. Then I'm gonna go ahead with them staples. Now them staples down in there. That's how bad it looked over there before I stretched it. Once you stretch this fence, it brings everything up real nice and straight, and it tightens this up. I'll show you when we're done doing it. So this is kind of what you want. Like these is acceptable. Here's a decent one here. You know, it don't have to be perfect, but this is bad. And this is real bad. You want to be sure to go on the other side of this, the knot on the woven wire. That way whenever it's pulling, think how I can do this. That way when it's pulling on that staple, you're pulling it like this and it's not on the other side of the strand, and then it just slips through. And you're gonna need some sort of fence stretcher. You either make your own jig out of 2x4s. There's a lot of DIY videos on YouTube on how to do that, or you use one of these store-bought ones or make one. Well, if you're a good welder, I use a clevis and a chain in my backhoe. You could insert a dummy pull, which is just a pull past your corner to you're gonna eventually remove, and use the stretcher to like a winch system. I just put the chain on here and I got a backhoe. Some people might even have a dozer or a tractor they can winch off of if they don't feel like doing it this way. And just got to be careful with a bigger piece of equipment because it'll pop these and then you have to fix the fence. But that's what we're going to use today. And that's it, just kind of like so. Have these all hooked on. You don't want one knot on or it'll twist funky. Got it all hooked up. It's an extender hose, so this will actually pull it if I need it. I'll level it where I think it needs to go first, then do all that. Yeah, again, conditions are not ideal. Kind of get a gist of how steep this was, the fence, and then did it all by hand. And that's pretty much it, guys. I'm gonna pull this a little bit tighter. I don't like this, it's a little bit loose. Well, then again, one of our hooks came off. You get the idea of it. And to have to lower down the fence, pick it up in some areas, and get it all stretched out. This is what this finished product will look like with a nice, tight, stretched fence. And I appreciate you guys watching and all the support on the channel. Now's a good time to like, subscribe, share these videos, and comment. I really appreciate all the support. Have a good one.